Welcome everybody to today's employee training event. Thanks for being here. We have a great day in store for you. Everybody got your boarding pass, I hope. That's a super creative idea to work through the day. We're going to do breakout sessions like we have in the past. Really, these days are an opportunity to get together, see some faces, work with some people that you don't normally get to work with. And then really reinforce a lot of the stuff that we're trying to do with the teams in relation to True North, whether it be the workforce team, the quality team, the service team, community team. All those teams have done a lot of really good work to prep for this, and so I hope you enjoy what they put together. So really we just want you to leave here with a better understanding of where we're going on that True North journey, and hopefully some takeaways to help you be successful, whether it's at the bedside, in front of the computer, whatever you do to help take care of patients in our community. So the goal, again, enhanced communication. Really, you're going to see that recurring theme: feedback, communication, behavioral standards throughout all of the topics we tried for the first time. And I think the teams did an awesome job with it to really tie in quality and service and workforce and really try to align some of the content so it all kind of connects the dots together. I participated in a similar training this morning with the leadership team, the first 4 hours of the day, and I want to just say it was excellent, so I hope that you have a similar experience. The learning objectives, really again we want to focus on STAR standards, positive communication standards, and then connecting those dots between the communication standards and those STAR standards. And then quality is going to do a little bit deeper dive into Just Culture. I know some of you have heard of Just Culture before. We are very, very early in our Just Culture journey, but that's really related to supporting a culture of safety and identifying errors and talking about defects and really trying to find problem-solving opportunities in the process versus the people, which we know there's a lot of complex processes in healthcare. And then the call to action today is really just intentionally start to use these tools, use these techniques that we talk about, that you learned about today. I end the leadership portion of this every time with just the report out. What are you going to do differently starting tomorrow that you learned using the content that you learned today? And I would challenge yourself to maybe take that same mindset as you go through the different presentations today. So really, I can't stress this enough. Everybody in this room is a part of a team. And when one person on the team wins, we all win, right? And so the collective efforts of 450 plus people is far greater than anything that one single person can accomplish. And so just remember that we should all be sharing the small victories that we make each and every day. I would be remiss if I didn't give a huge shout out to the individuals representing the specific teams here that have played a huge part in making this happen. They did a lot of coordination, including some pretty fancy boarding passes, and if you look on the back, there's actually a QR code, and you can scan that and it'll take you right into Relias, so you don't even have to go to a computer in order to give yourself credit for being here today. You can do that right on your phone. If you have any questions about your boarding pass, I am not the best person to answer them, I will admit that, but I'm sure Amanda or Heidi could help you with that from the workforce team.
But yeah, so my name is Claire Hessel. I'm an HR generalist here, and
I'm Tracy Jensen in education.
Yeah, so we're part of the team. We've seen this presentation, kind of know what we're talking about, so we'll see how it goes. All right, so the first thing that we want to talk about is what Workforce Talks is and what it means. So if any of y'all remember True North 2.0, part of your session was with the workforce team, and one thing that we really talked about was shifting our purpose from celebrations and employee parties to really driving culture. And one thing that we thought of, and one way that we can do that, is through a segment called Workforce Talks. So what we're going to focus on is what we can do to positively affect our culture, and not just leadership, but us as employees as well. We're going to remove the us versus them. Stop blaming senior leaders for everything. I know that's a big one that we kind of talked about a little bit as a team. Was, I think, a lot of times when we're going to get into self-accountability, right, is what can we do to fix things? What can we do to drive change and not just bring everything to leadership? we're going to need everybody's help to make culture the best. We're going to talk about stewardship, and we're going to get everyone on the same journey. I think True North and engagement and culture is something that we've been talking about for years, but we're hoping that this platform really is a driving force behind getting us all on the same thought path. So yeah, thought-provoking. As we go through it, if you think of things, if you have ideas, or you can always bring that to the workforce team too, because like we said, this is for all of us. So some ways that you're going to see this throughout the year is the spring and fall training. There's going to be monthly leadership training. We're going to have some lunch and learns. There's going to be things in the compass, portal updates, and our two main topics. We're going to have many subtopics, but we're going to talk about our view, our structure, our behavior, communication. So whenever you see that logo, Workforce Talks, just know that that's part of the Workforces team's initiative, and it's going to at least last for a year, and then we'll check in and see how it goes after that. So our topic today is self-awareness and accountability. So our mission, right, as an organization is to be the best care, the best partner, and the best culture. And one quote that we liked was, "I'm not in competition with anyone but myself. My goal is to prove myself continuously," right? So if we want to provide the best care, if we want to be the best partner, if we want to have the best culture, that's going to stem from everybody, right? We all have to be a part of that mission. So that's where the self-awareness and accountability comes in when we're talking about that. If we're going to drive forward our mission, it can't just be 30% of the workforce is on board. All of us need to be on board. So who likes Disney? Or has at least seen Disney, right? What does every Disney movie have? Yes.
Dead parents.
Dead parents, yes. And a villain, right? It's true. It is true. Every Disney movie has a villain. So we grew up finding the villain in our story. And I think that's something that we naturally tend to do. Who's at fault? Who is the villain in my story? So I have the responsibility in every situation that I find myself in. And what are the choices that landed me here? Sometimes I may have to work backwards to connect the dots. Am I playing the role of victim, and why? What actions can I take to fix the issue? Is my thinking helping or hindering the situation? Am I looking at the situation from all viewpoints? Am I looking through the lens of others? Is my thinking solution-based? And what can I change in the future to improve? And what does the best look like? I think a lot of times when we're frustrated with something, maybe it's staffing, maybe it's our hours, maybe it's our acuity of patients, maybe it's our team members. I think oftentimes we look for that villain, right? Who can we blame? Who's at fault here? Oftentimes we, that turns into complaining, that turns into, well, I'm just going to tell my leader how I feel. But are we bringing solutions when we have those complaints? Are we thinking about where we fit into that scenario? Is there something that I can change to make this better and then present that as well? And really thinking inwardly, if there's something that is going on with your team, if there's something that is creating this environment that you don't want to be in, what is your role in that, and how can you help change that environment inwardly first and then bring that externally?
All right, so the next thing that we're going to talk about is actually the elephant in the room, right? Talking about communication and interacting with other staff, what are the fear factors that we find ourselves in? First and foremost is failure. Nobody wants to fail. I can tell you that your leaders don't want to fail, senior leaders don't want to fail. None of us in this room certainly want to fail either. We don't get up in the morning and say, I hope I have a mediocre day. I want to be the best person that I can be today. Not being liked, I think, again, we're humans, we want to be liked, we want to come to work, we want to fit in. Team members leaving, often there could be some fears that if you approach somebody you talk to a team member about their actions or have that crucial conversation, that maybe they're gonna leave, and at this point, you know, there's that thought, we can't afford to lose anybody else, right? Relinquishing control. What does it look like to potentially give up that control? Time. Saying or doing the wrong things. Again, nobody wants to say or do the wrong thing. You want to come to work and be the best person that you can be. You know, what is somebody else's reaction? If you say something that they don't like or don't agree with, how are they going to react? Is it going to be negative? Are they going to go to the leader and basically talk about what happened? Changing the working relationship is also a big one. Right now, you could say, I like who I work with, I can't have this conversation. What if they don't like me? What if I always get the crappy assignments? It's what does that relationship look like with everybody else? Find out what people really think about us. I think we're all professional. We want to present our best foot forward, but you know, maybe they'll say something that they really don't like about us and nobody wants to hear that. And then I think the last big fear is living in a place of can't or won't. So what if we said, instead of I can't do that, I don't have time to do that, I won't do that because it's not my job description. What if we said something like, I can, but next week, or I can, but I'll be able to do it later on. So those are some of the fear factors that we tend to see. So this comment, faith is taking the first step even when we don't see the whole staircase. I think the biggest, the hardest thing to do is to actually take that first step. It's doing it the first time. Once you do it once, it does kind of tend to generate that momentum, and it will get a lot easier having those conversations. So kind of taking a step back then, thinking about communication, thinking about teamwork, team building. There's some very interesting statistics on here. The one that we found kind of interesting was that onboarding can improve retention by 82%. So if you think back to when you were first hired, when you got onboarded, when did that onboarding start?
When I got offered the job.
When you got offered the job, okay. When else do you think it might have started?
During my interview.
During the interview? Even potentially before that, right? So when somebody went to our website, looked to see what jobs were available, looked to see what the job was, how is it being presented? Onboarding can improve retention by 82%. How we treat other employees, how we get them in the door and then make sure that they get the training that they receive can make a huge difference. So how do we make them feel welcome? So we want to imprint our values, and that's the service, teamwork, accountability, and respect. And I did take some time and I looked that up before we came in here. And I'm not sure if everybody is aware, but in our policy it says, STAR standards describe what we must do to meet the needs of all. So what I found interesting in there is it doesn't say it describes what we should do to meet the needs of all. It's what we must do. So every person, every single time, we want to make sure that we are achieving those mission, vision, and values by using our STAR standards. And then having those crucial conversations, and it can be difficult to have those crucial conversations. There could be conflict that could ensue, and but it's very important. Communication with other staff are very important. Our role to make other people feel welcome is having that positive communication. Talking about our organization, we always want to talk up the organization, our team, and our work. We don't want to go around saying, yeah, I work at the hospital and it's okay and some of the staff there are all that great. We want to make Hayward Hospital, Water's Edge, the assisted living, the best place all the time. Make sure that we're listening actively. Active listening means not just hearing what other people are saying, but it's seeing what they're saying. It's using all of our senses. We're listening to what they're saying. We're trying to understand. We're not trying to always just respond. And then removing judgment. I think it's very easy, you know, we live in a small community. We know a lot of people. We know a lot of people from potentially 10, 15 years ago that are now employed here. And we want to make sure that we're not judging them based on how they could have been, you know, 5, 10 years ago. So we really want to make sure that we are treating everybody professionally. So who here has been a trainer? Who's trained other staff? Okay, did you guys feel prepared? Were you trained to train other staff? Okay, good, that's good. We don't always hear that. I think oftentimes, you know, when we ask if you would be willing to train, it's like, sure, I can do that, but I'm not quite sure how. We'll just show them how to do the work, right? It's more than just doing the work. So did you feel prepared to train? And if you were training, how often did somebody check in with you and the new staff member to see how things were going? Routinely at the end of the orientation?
Yeah, and then part of the thought-provoking piece of it, right, is like, if these things aren't happening in your department, and if you're being asked to precept a new employee, and you don't feel prepared, and you don't feel like you have those tools that you need, bring that up to your leader and say, hey, I'm more than happy to precept this person. I would love to train them in. However, I feel like I need some more information on how to do that. Because the last thing that we want to do is bring someone in, give them a haphazard training, and then in 6 months they leave. Why? Because they never got oriented. They don't really know what their job is. And then we get frustrated because they weren't performing. Well, they were never really trained how to perform, right? So that's part of the accountability piece for all of us, is I think a lot of times when we think of orientation and we think of onboarding, we think of HR and our leader, they'll figure it out. No, when you go into a team, who do you want to make connections with? You want to make connections with those that you're working alongside. Like, yeah, you want to have a good relationship with your leader, but that's not who you hang out with every day. You hang out with your peers, you have that relationship with your peers, and if those around you aren't building you up, you're not going to feel like you fit in and you're not going to want to stay, because that team environment is the driving force behind satisfaction in any sort of job. So one thing that we have is Voice of the Employee. We are working on revamping this so that it's a little better. But we do have a spot for employees to voice their opinions, and we try and follow up. And there's more, so this is kind of the formal way to do it. Obviously there's informal ways to do it, but I don't know if a lot of the new employees, or even if we've been here for a while, remember that we have this option or how to use it. So it is right on the portal, the first page there. I like this quote. Next time you're afraid to share ideas, remember someone once said in a meeting, let's make a film with a tornado full of sharks. And then there's 4 of them. So no idea is a bad one. And I think the one thing that we're really working on is the follow through. Right now a lot of the voice employees, they do get seen and we do address them, but I think we're as a team really working on how can we close the loop with who's ever posting on that. But they do all get read and all get seen and addressed in some way. When are we going to live in a perfect world? We wouldn't be here, right? I think that's one thing that we have seen in healthcare, right? It's changed. It's forever going to be changed. You know, we are dealing with staffing. We're dealing with different acuity than we have before. We're dealing with different volumes. And it's never going to be perfect in any sort of environment. But I think especially in healthcare, we can acknowledge that it's never going to be perfect. And so how do we change the narrative when we show up to work every day? Like, it's stressful, you know, it gets demanding. I think we've seen a lot of burnout. But we also have the ability to change that narrative and change that perspective inwardly and showcase that and be a light to our team as well. And what does it mean to be the best? What does the best look like? If we're going to be the best care, the best partner, have the best culture, what does that look like to each of us? Because if it looks like showing up to work every day and having a negative attitude and barely doing the minimum and then you go home, nobody wants to work with that. Nobody wants to be around that. That's not the best, and that's not even close to what the best can look like. And I think we found that when you show up with the best attitude that you can have, that's when you do provide that best care, and that's when we do create that best culture, and we can be best partners to those around us. And then more people will want to work here because it's going to be the best. You become inspired when you see things differently. That is all.
Okay, so first thing we're going to do is watch a video. But anyways, our presentation, whoops, sorry.
No, you're good.
Okay, here we go. Video we watch.
If you've learned a lot about leadership and making a movement, then let's watch a movement happen start to finish in under 3 minutes and dissect some lessons. First, of course, a leader needs the guts to stand alone and look ridiculous. But what he's doing is so simple, it's almost instructional. This is key. You must be easy to follow. Now here comes the first follower with a crucial role. He publicly shows everyone else how to follow. Notice how the leader embraces him as an equal. So it's not about the leader anymore. It's about them, plural. Notice how he's calling to his friends to join in. See, it takes guts to be a first follower. You stand out and you brave ridicule yourself. Being a first follower is an underappreciated form of leadership. The first follower transforms a lone nut into a leader. If the leader is the flint, the first follower is the spark that really makes the fire. Now here's the second follower. This is a turning point. It's proof the first has done well. Now it's not a lone nut and it's not two nuts. 3 is a crowd and a crowd is news. A movement must be public. Make sure outsiders see more than just the leader. Everyone needs to see the followers because new followers emulate the followers, not the leader. Now here come 2 more people, then 3 more immediately. Now we've got momentum. This is the tipping point, and now we have a movement. As more people jump in, it's no longer risky. If they were on the fence before, there's no reason not to join in now. They won't stand out, they won't be ridiculed, and they will be part of the in crowd if they hurry. And over the next minute, you'll see the rest who prefer to stay part of the crowd, because eventually they'd be ridiculed for not joining. And ladies and gentlemen, that is how a movement is made. So let's recap what we've learned. If you are a version of the shirtless dancing guy, all alone, remember the importance of nurturing your first few followers as equals, making everything clearly about the movement, not you. Be public, be easy to follow. But the biggest lesson here, did you catch it? Leadership is overglorified. Yes, it started with the shirtless guy, and he'll get all the credit, but you saw what really happened. It was the first follower that transformed a lone nut into a leader. There's no movement without the first follower. See, we're told that we all need to be leaders, but that would be really ineffective. The best way to make a movement, if you really care, is to courageously follow and show others how to follow. When you find a lone nut doing something great, have the guts to be the first person to stand up and join in. Join in. Do something great.
Okay. So what do you think?
Everybody get up and dance.
Everybody get up and dance. Let's see who our followers are. Okay, so our quality presentation today is going to be on banning blame, outcome bias, and just culture. And Ashley and Sarah are the chairs of the quality team, and Amy and myself are members of it. So banning blame. We do not want to have blame within our organization, so we want to avoid outcome bias. And by doing that is outcome bias describes a tendency to evaluate a decision based on its outcome and not on the process by which the decision was reached. Also, outcome bias occurs when a decision is based on the outcome of previous events without regard for how those events are developed. On the flip side, outcome bias can also cause us to not pay attention to the real risks of a system in place if outcomes are good. So after I read this, I had to go in and do a little bit more thought process on what does all this really mean and give myself an example. So kind of the example that I came up with is if we had a patient who had surgery and everything came out perfect. It was a great experience. Everybody's like, yay, yay. And then over here, we had the same type of surgery that didn't go so well. And then we're going to be like, oh, I wonder what happened. And, it must be this, it must be that. But with banning the blame, we want to look at the positive outcomes along with the maybe not so good outcomes to try to find if there's processes in there that we need to create, make better, what are the risks and those types of things, and not going directly to the blame game. So does that make more sense? Okay. So then, a few years ago, it might even be 6 or 7 years ago, as time flies, we have talked a little bit about just culture. And then obviously COVID hit and it kind of goes away. And so now we're wanting to really get our organization back to just culture. And what it really means for the organization is that we are continuously learning within the organization. So, and it's a shared accountability between the entire group. So organizations are accountable for the systems they have designed, responding to the behaviors of their employees in a fair and just manner. Employees, in turn, are accountable for the quality of their choices and for reporting both their errors and system vulnerabilities. The acknowledgement that all humans are destined to make mistakes and designed to drift into an at-risk behavior choices, regardless of how the system is designed. So again, we want to shift the focus from errors and outcomes to system design and behavioral choices. So typically within the just culture, there's these 3 different categories. Human error, as long as humans are working in the work, we're always going to have human error. At-risk behavior, and then the reckless behavior. So again, we really don't want to talk about that reckless behavior because that, it happens sometimes, but not very often. But we really want to get to the point where we can console when we make a mistake, and also really coach and find out if there's processes that is the reason why these things happen. Because again, our process is broke down, our process is not standardized, or any of those types of things. So what does just culture look like? Being comfortable asking and answering questions so that we all seek to understand. Everyone is treated with respect and feels supported when something goes wrong or nearly goes wrong with patient care. The actions of people involved when something goes wrong are assessed fairly. The processes focus on understanding why people acted the way they did by considering the context and contributing system factors while minimizing the influence of bias. One is only held accountable for their actions. Accountability is always assessed in the context of the situation, including contributing system factors. The organization agrees on and communicates proactively about what accountability for one's actions mean in a setting of a patient safety incident, how accountability will be assessed, and how a response appropriate for the situation is chosen. Everyone in blue feels comfortable to raise concerns and report errors and threats to patient safety because they know the action of individuals involved will be assessed fairly. Shared values, beliefs, and attitudes about safety guard against naming, shaming, and blaming people if something goes wrong with care delivery. So, to sum that all up, just culture is about driving out the fear so that learning can occur.
I think what's really important too, you guys, is just culture doesn't mean any error can happen, nobody ever has any accountability in that. It means we look at everything and say, was this a process issue that we need to improve so that it doesn't happen again? Could this happen in another department? Was everybody educated to the same competency so that we are ensuring that everybody has the same knowledge? Those are the places that we want to fix. Now, if somebody is just reckless behavior being, there's a rule, they just choose not to follow it because they don't like it, that's a different story. So I'm supposed to double sign heparin, but I don't like it because I can't find somebody and I'm just gonna sign Tori's name to it. That's reckless behavior. There's a difference, right? And so making sure that everybody has the knowledge to, or we're looking at processes and ensuring that those processes are correct, or being willing to look at processes when things go wrong instead of saying, Peggy didn't do a good job at this. That's really what just culture is about.
Okay, we're going to play a little game of Jeopardy! So-
All right.
Go ahead, Amy, I'm passing out the candy.
All right. So,
Carrot and stick incentive here, you guys.
in our first round, I did let the people pick what category and candy they wanted. Today, I'm gonna randomize it, just because I lost track of who picked what and it was hard. So let's go ahead and start with good catches for 100 grand. In Just Culture, everyone feels comfortable to raise concerns and report errors and threats to patients. Good.
Is that my friend Renee? Yay!
I didn't know if we were.
Yes.
Oh, yeah.
Yell it out. You're good. You just yell. Okay, so next we're gonna go to outcome bias for a payday. Instead of focusing on outcomes, we need to focus on the process. Yes.
Who was that? Sorry.
I can't be a wiener all the time.
All right, Just Culture for chocolate coins. When something goes wrong or nearly wrong in patient care, everyone should be treated with,
What is respect?
yeah.
You even answered it in the form of a
She
question.
even did it right, like, what is? Wow. She watches Jeopardy at home.
Not really.
No.
Not smart enough.
All right, good catches for a payday. You go here to enter a good catch.
Woo, we had a couple winners.
Yes. Definitely.
Did I miss anybody else that said it at the same time?
Okay, outcome bias, chocolate coin. Outcome bias can cause us to not pay attention to the real what of a system.
What is the problem?
Risk.
That's acceptable, I think.
Do you want another chocolate coin or do you want a different one?
That's fine. Make me think I got extra money.
Just Culture for a payday. Just Culture is a shift of focus from errors and what to system design and behavioral choice.
What is blame? Oh.
Good try. Good try.
That's what I was thinking.
Good catches for a chocolate coin. Who is responsible for safety?
Everybody.
Everyone.
Yes. All of us.
Thank you.
Oh, thank you.
You got 100 grand plus whatever that coin's worth. Your best friend.
Outcome bias for 100 grand. Outcome bias describes the tendency to evaluate a blank based on its outcome.
What is a process?
There.
Another 100 grand.
200 grand.
It's good to be here.
Vacation, Barb, we're going on vacation. Okay. That works for me.
No, okay.
All right, Just Culture, 100 grand. Just Culture identifies 3 types of behavioral choices: human error, at-risk behavior, and reckless behavior.
Who was that? All right.
A soft little voice.
Yes.
Yay.
All right, let's finish off here. Start over, Peggy. No, I'm just kidding.
No, they would not want me to.
So some key takeaways from today's presentation is when reporting and assessing an incident or event, we want to avoid outcome bias. Our leadership team is committed to reinforcing the use of avoiding outcome bias. Just Culture is about driving out that fear so that learning can occur. Everyone should feel comfortable to raise concerns and report errors and threats to patient safety because they know the actions of individuals involved will be assessed fairly. Our leadership team is committed to evaluating, following up, and documenting unreported events.
My name's Chris, this is Rebecca. We're both co-chairs for our service team. Today we're talking about managing up and banning blame, we, they communication. So, I'm hoping everybody knows what managing up is. All right, so our objectives are to provide awareness of the service team goal, verbalize understanding of the True North mantra, promote understanding that positive communication standards are not only to increase the patient experience, but also enhance the work culture, our environment, and show the relationship between STAR standards and positive communication standards, which lead to a great work culture, explain one example of banning blame, and instill awareness of we-they communication in ourselves. So, the goal of our service team is to develop the organization's workforce, systems, and culture to achieve a great patient experience. So, you notice that it doesn't say achieve a great patient experience. It includes the workforce and the culture, because we know that those two things, without that, we're not going to have a great patient experience. So, we revised our mantra, and it now looks like this. It's one experience, one team, one goal. And this is for our whole True North journey, this True North mantra is. And it's based upon our foundations of workforce, quality, service, finance, community, based on those pillars. So one experience, the patient experience, which includes those that choose to bring with them on their hospital, clinic, and Water's Edge journey, because we have all those things. And one team, we are seen as one team through the eyes of our patients and our guests, and one goal to provide a great patient and great guest experience. So the one team is important because when a patient comes in through our ED department, they don't just see our ED as the nurses that provide that care for them. The whole team is radiology, it's lab, it's anybody that they encounter in that visit. They don't see them separate from the ED. When they say they're coming to the ED, they're expecting those things, and that's where the teamwork really needs to come in. So in 2022, we really focused on our ED as we have a service team and then we have a service pillar team. So the pillar team has other departments that dock up to that, including our service team. And we meet monthly on a monthly basis, and we talk about how we can elevate whatever the services that we're working on for the year. So some things that we brought back or refreshed was managing up for that ED team. And some of the things that came out of that was the teamwork between patient access and ED and lab, radiology, through managing up. And then with patient access, they started rounding in the patient in the waiting area there. And then they also have a little flip chart that says how long the patient waits. So when you go in, you can see it, it's visual to the patient, expect a 30-minute wait, which I think is great. So really helping out, to help understand some of those needs of the patients. So we look at our Press Ganey results, and this is part of the Press Ganey. And with those results, we look at trying to, we get whatever the patients say, and we try to incorporate that into making a better experience for them. So looking at managing up. So why do we manage up? We manage up for the patient because we know it fosters trust from caregiver to caregiver to decrease patient anxiety. And for the team, it builds teamwork and eliminates a blaming culture of we and they. And then for our whole organization, it helps us to know what right looks like while recognizing the person, department, demonstrating behaviors aligned with our organization's values. And how do we manage up? It's simply positioning others, ourselves, co-workers, departments, other organizations in a positive light. Oh, you know what? I should get this little guy over here so you can see the whole thing. So some examples. Good morning, Mrs. Smith. Thank you for letting us know you have a concern about your bill. I'm going to transfer you to Betty with our billing department. Betty is an excellent at understanding insurances and billing. She will do a great job answering your questions. Good morning, Mr. Smith. Our radiology department has state-of-the-art technology. They are constantly breaking records every month with the number of tests they perform. Everyone wants to have their tests done here at HAM by our excellent radiology team. Good morning, Mr. King. Thank you for your patience. Our OR crew is finishing up providing great care to the patient before you. They will take the same time with you to ensure all your needs are met as well. So just examples of managing up. And, we can think of saying other things here that would be the opposite of managing up, and we'll get to some of those in a little bit here. So 2023 Service Pillar and Workforce Team Focus. So our focus this year are our drivers of outpatient overall mean satisfaction rating. Our outpatient is radiology, lab, rehab, and then mean score in medical practice specialty services. So that's basically our clinic. So we are working on improving those, so refreshing, managing up in those areas. We will be using that again because we see that it worked in other departments, and if it's not broke, why fix it? Why reinvent the wheel? So we're going to use some of those same tactics that we used in the emergency department and bring those over to those two areas. One thing that we found with Press Ganey results, that if we really focus on teamwork, it correlates with overall patient satisfaction, how they rank that, it correlates with that. And the higher the teamwork is, the higher that overall patient satisfaction is. So that's why we're really focusing on teamwork, as well as with our Press Ganey results that we ask you guys to take. So the questionnaires that we ask you to take, which is going to be opening up, I think, in May here. So everyone please take that. Communication between work units is effective in this organization. So focusing on teamwork also helps elevate that as well. So you can see that there's a connection between the two. So we're going to talk a little bit about banning blame and we, they. So banning negative communication will help to create a more positive employee and customer experience. How? Avoid communications that are negative about others. In particular, eliminate the blaming of others and the hero type statements. Remember, we're all a team. Avoid criticizing statements and speaking in generalizations. Lab never calls me with critical results. So that's pretty much a generalization. Does lab never call us with critical results? No, they call us with critical results. They missed one time and now it's a never thing. So just kind of try to avoid those always never statements. So we have some examples of things you should not say. So going back to the delay in surgery, we had a nice managing up to that. Now we have the opposite. I'm sorry your surgery is delayed today. Things never seem to run on time in that department. I don't know why your provider hasn't been in to see you yet. She tends to be unpredictable with rounding. I've called him twice and he hasn't returned my call. So you're looking like, yeah, I'm the hero. I'm doing something. I tried calling them. And you're basically throwing the poor provider under the bus and backing up, running them over, and then going forward again. And then we never know when our patients get back from radiology. They never let us know. And that's using that never, always again. We always have to empty the garbage in the patient's room. They never remember to do that when they are cleaning. So just some things about blame. So we are naturally wired to blame other people for circumstances when something goes wrong. We tend to believe that what people do is a reflection of who they are and don't consider there may be other factors, either environmental or social, that influences their behavior. If we blame others for our problems, they have to change, not us. So one example is like, okay, you're a little late for work today. You hop in the car and you're like, man, I'm going to have to pick her up today, and I need to get there on time. Well, then out of the blue, someone pulls right in front of you. And now you're going at a turtle's pace. What are you thinking in your mind? Probably not really good thoughts. You're like, man, I got to get to work, and now this, come on. So I think that we underestimate what's going on in that person's head. Maybe they just lost their spouse and they're just in a fog. There are things that they're just not in the right space. But yet, we tend to blame that person, and you want to go by them and flip off and all these things. And we don't have any empathy for like, okay, what's really going on in that person's life. So There's also a biological explanation for blame. So Duke University did a study on this. They looked at brain imaging and blame. And they found that positive events are processed in the prefrontal cortex. So you can see the big plus there. In order to get there, it takes a little bit. And then when something good happens, it goes there, but it takes a little bit to get there. And then once it gets there, we think, well, man, that never happens. I mean, how many times have we said that? We thought that, said that, that never happens. Well, like a good thing happens and we think it's just a fluke. You know, that typically doesn't happen. Whereas negative events, like we process them pretty quickly. They're processed in the amygdala, which is that negative area there. And the amygdala controls our flight and flight response. And it rapidly concludes when something bad happens. And so we're just conditioned to think something bad's going to happen, something bad's going to happen. And then it happens so fast that we don't even know we're making the assumption. We just know that who's ever closest to that situation, we're blaming them. So just kind of interesting for the science geeks in the room, like myself. So some takeaways. Use managing up at every opportunity with peers, with patients, every opportunity, use managing up. On the phone, whatever. Stop using we, they communication. So just even having awareness of that. So when Rebecca and I were putting this together, we're like, oh my gosh, I didn't realize how much I use we, they communication. And so now it's like, you almost stop and think, or I'll say something like, did I just use we, they communication? So kind of just think about that and stop using it. Your huddle board, your leader will have a handout, and on the huddle board we ask them to put the handout, and it talks about managing up and we, they communication. So look for that on your huddle boards. Questions? All right, a lot of information. Now for the fun part.
Now for the fun part. All right. Family Feud time.
Dang it!
It's me. Hi.
There we go.
That's blame. It's the blame.
Next slide, I think we'll have that. All right, first two people, come on down. Addie?
Young?
Yeah.
We'll put you
One
in
on each
half
side.
here.
Oh, sorry.
Right down the middle.
Yeah, right down the middle. You're one team, you're one team. All right, come on up.
Do not be afraid to hit the buzzers.
All right.
We want participation.
All right, I'm going to ask a question. The first one to hit their buzzer gets to make the first guess. So, we asked 109 Hamwee employees to name a word you would never use to describe a coworker.
Lazy.
Survey says... All right, you guys can have a seat. This team gets to play. All right, Tori.
Dumb or incompetent.
Survey says... Woohoo! Good job. All right, Tracy.
A little delayed.
Read the question again, please.
I sure can. Name a word you would never use to describe a coworker in front of a patient or guest.
How about, oh gosh, those are the two I was thinking about. Boring.
There we go. All right, Claire.
Tori's lazy.
I've seen the show.
All right.
One more strike. You have a chance to steal.
Survey says. All right. up. You guys get to huddle up and try to steal.
We can do this. We can do this.
Are you guys okay with that? Late.
Like never at their desk.
Oh.
Not available? Like that?
I kind of feel like that might. No. No.
What is the answer though?
The answer is
Slow.
So we get to come together and jump and.
Yeah. Woohoo! All right, let's try to get one more round in here. All right, Tori and Jim. Thank you. I couldn't see your name tag. I was trying to see there. All right. We asked 109 Hamwee employees, what is a word or phrase you would never say in front of a patient or guest?
We're short-staffed.
All right, survey says. Woohoo!
player pass,
All
player
right.
pass.
Let's play.
All right. Tracy?
Oops.
Oops. We're gonna go Oops.
That was one of them, but that was way,
Way down.
And our game only allowed us to have 4.
Yeah.
We don't do that here?
You guys are coming up with. Survey says. All right.
That's not my job. Oh.
We had to clump some
We
things
had to clump
together
them,
that were
yeah.
similar.
What's the question again, Rebecca?
Okay, question is, what is a word or phrase you would never say in front of a patient or guest?
We don't have time.
Survey says. Good job. All right.
Number 1 answer still on the board.
I don't know how.
All right, you guys can.
No,
Oh,
one
wait,
more.
One more? Oh, we got one more. Addie.
Addie?
That's right.
Say the question one more time.
Okay. What is a word or phrase you would never say in front of a patient or guest?
They're dumb.
What did you say?
They're dumb.
Survey says.
Oh, sorry. Oh. I was thinking it said swear words. But all right, nice job.
Good
Trying
job.
to make the comeback. What time do you guys have to go?
Oh, 5 after?
Okay, I guess.
Oh, awesome. We get another round in. All right. 3rd people in line up front here. All right. We asked 104 Hamwee employees, name a word you would use to describe a coworker when managing up.
Smart.
Survey says. Yay!
You're playing, I take it?
Plain or pass? All right.
What are ways to describe your coworkers?
When managing up.
Like excellent at what they do.
Survey says. Good job.
Compassionate.
Survey says. All right.
Finally.
Survey says. Good job. Woohoo!
Wow, comeback. All right, so this team over here was the winners. Great job. So we need you to sign because you will be getting 5 star points for new swag once the branding is done. So thank you for playing, guys.
Thank you for playing Family Feud.